All right, welcome back. When we manage the risk, we are going to use what fighter pilots have been using for a long time. It's called the Boyd cycle. Boyd is named after Colonel Boyd, who was an Air Force contemporary of Chuck Yeager. And he was responsible for training fighter pilots at Nellis Air Force Base in the Air Force. And he recognized the most efficient and effective fighter pilots did something in particular in the way they processed, and then when they increased the speed of that process, they would get inside the loop of the other pilots, gaining a quicker advantage and having the fastest time to kill, which is a big concern in the fighter pilot community, is your time to kill. Okay, so let's look at that cycle. So the cycle was simply this. He recognized that the pilots that observed what was going on, oriented themselves, their plane and their energy state, to the opponent or enemy's airplane and energy state. Then they made a decision on how to counter or act, and then they took that action. And then, as soon as it was done, they went right back to observe. How did that affect? I went nose low. Did he go nose high? I pulled into him. Did he pull into me? And then once they made that action, they would then look to see what was the reaction. This loop would go on and on. So early on in your fighter pilot training, if you can do it once every 90 to 180 degrees, go through a full loop, you're doing pretty good. Eventually, you're doing it constantly, many times a minute, hundreds of times a minute. Every little change you're looking at and is making a difference. It's changing your choices. It's changing your actions because you want the advantage to get inside the loop of the other pilot so that you can kill him in the fastest time to kill. Okay, that is the risk management tool we used as fighter pilots. Now, doesn't this look awfully familiar to Larry's culture change model? Well, because it is. If you look at the culture change model, what are we trying to do as managers and lead followers? Remember, managers are trying to create the environment that leaders lead and followers follow. So in that creating of the environment, what do they want to do? They want to see, what actions do I want my leaders to take and my followers to take? What choices do I want them to make? What environment do I need to create so that they can make those choices and take those actions? And they're constantly doing what? They're assessing, they're observing, they're orienting, they're deciding, and they're acting. So it's the same cycle. Whether you use it as a culture change cycle, you're using it as a fighter pilot, we're using it here as sailors to manage the risk that would come up on a boat. Okay, so here's a cycle called the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act loop. You observe a change in the environment, you orient to possible choices, you decide on a course of action or courses of action, then you act. Then you see it starts over again. Why? You want to see, did your actions actually have the effect that you had desired? Because what do you want to do? Reach your desired end state. You must manage this risk. So the first thing we do is we observe. We're going to observe what? Risk has entered the area. How do you know you've entered a risky environment when you're on a boat? Well, we talked about knowing your own internal level. We're in a mellow state of sail, we're in a change state of sail, we're in an alert state of sail, and we see we want to what? Maneuver back to that mellow state of sail. But I will tell you this, sailing is just a risky environment. You always are observing and you're always waiting for the next risk to pop up. So you're constantly, as a captain, in the observe. You're always looking for where the risk is coming. And you communicate this to others, right? Hey, Sally, we're out of the mellow zone right now, so we might have to take some action. Or you can simply state that, what change did you see happen? So you say to Sally, I don't think that boat on the port tack sees us, so we might need to tack even though we're the stand-on vessel. Now, you look, get a more accurate assessment. You're going to orient. We orient to our environment and the possible choices. Our options are based upon the scope of the risk. How much time do I have? Maybe you stated, you know what, we need to tack in 10 seconds if that boat doesn't maneuver. So you got 10 seconds. What other resources? What other priorities can we have? Maybe you say, well, we could bear away or turn downwind. Either way, now we get 5 seconds. Balance that with what you've observed and your assessment. Boom, now you have to make a decide. Decide on a course of action. Choose that risk control. Communicate the decision. Ready about. The crew responds ready. Helm's over. Take the action. You control the risk. And now immediately it starts over. We had a constant bearing decreasing range. Did the TAC, was it successful? Are we no longer on a collision course? Maybe we're back to a mellow state of sail. Okay? Maybe it's time to assess that boat. Who's on that boat sailing it? Maybe they're in some kind of distress. What is really important after we act and we observe and we're back to a mellow state of sail and we have some time is the debrief. Debrief makes us resilient. Okay, so the debrief might be as simple as this. Bob might say to Sally, next time I'm not going to wait so long. And I should have had that air horn next to me at the helm. In fact, where is it? I'm going below to get the air horn. And then Sally comes right back at Bob and says, hey Bob, I thought we waited too long as well to tack. About the time you called ready about, I was going to alert you it was time to maneuver. Bob says, thanks for the feedback, Sally. I agree. Can you take the helm? I need to go below and get the air horn. And Sally says, I got the helm. Okay, so you can see you can just make it as quickly as you can, but debrief makes you resilient. How are you going to do it the next time? Then you go do control measures like Bob going down to get the air horn. Make sure it's next to him. Should have been up there in the first place. Maybe he looked for it and it wasn't there. Should have been there, right? So that goes back to our checklists and things like that. We'll cover that a little bit later. All right, so the debrief, like I said, causes resiliency. You know, either it goes well or not, but how am I going to do it the next time? All right. So that's all we're going to cover for now on the process of the OODA loop and how to manage risk, how we do it as humans, and how if you increase that cycle, you're going to see a more effectiveness and give yourself more time to stay ahead of any threats that are out there. Okay, so the next class is about controlling risk. And the best way to control risk is be prepared for it. We'll see you in the next class.